here is about life after death. Now, before we go into life after death, we gotta first understand that every soul is different and every soul has an origin. Now, to understand life after death, we have to understand that we are not these bodies. These bodies are just containers, shells, vehicles, vessels, which hold our true selves, which is light beings, to commute on this realm. Now, with that being said, every soul is different. You have some souls which you would consider a prophet, which I don't want to say is not normal, but come here for specific reasons, such as to uplift the consciousness of the community, or so on and so forth. And you have some souls that like, let's just say like myself, for example. You have, I'm not going to go into my past life or where I come from in this specific video, but you have souls that don't even manifest in physical form until a planet is in need of a certain help spiritually. Then they come and reincarnate or incarnate into a body on that planet and perform their duties on that planet. Now, excluding those type of souls, such as myself, you have what you want to just say, I don't want to say normal people because we all are a part of the Creator, but I just want to say a soul that would not have that specific task, but has its own task, basically everyday people. Upon death, you came from somewhere. So like I always tell people, you say you have knowledge of yourself, but you can't, how do you have knowledge of yourself if you don't even know where you were in your past life? You can't tell me what interstellar part of the galaxy your soul traveled to get here. You don't know where you came from. How do you have knowledge of yourself? You only have knowledge of the physical world in which this body or these genes have traveled geographically, but you can't tell me where your spirit came from. You are the soul. You don't have knowledge of yourself. So with that being said, before this lifetime, you came from somewhere. Whoever's watching this video specifically, as long as you have a soul, you came from somewhere to get here. So now with that being said, upon death, for the average soul, remember, we're not talking about a different type of entity who manifested in this realm. We're talking about the average melanated being. Depending upon the vibration you the most on this plane, and it will determine whether you have to reincarnate or will you be able to upgrade and go on to the next stage of your evolution on a spiritual plane. With that being said, what I mean is, let's say you spent, hypothetically speaking, don't matter why, whether it's your fault or somebody else's fault, let's say you spent 80% of your life being miserable and angry. That is a vibration that actually exists. So now what happens is, you have attracted that vibration to you. Now, the reason you don't feel the full effects of that vibration is because this body can only conduct so much energy. So this body is actually saving you from feeling the full effects of that vibration. It's like a guitar string. So imagine when you don't have this suit. What happens is, everything that you attracted and manifested in this lifetime, when you leave this shell, that is where you will that is what will attract. That is the vibration where you will attract yourself. So in true retrospect, you create your own hell. So if you're a person who's angry all day, and you're stimulated by anger, then you have to learn to overcome that. And this is why spiritual cultivation is so important, because you don't want to keep having to recycle yourself to learn the same lesson. Now, getting back on point, let's say you're miserable, you're angry all day. When you do what you conceptualize as death, when your soul ejects from this physical shell and you go to the fourth dimension or the astral plane, you are going to go to that vibration which you've been attracted to while here for a certain amount of time in order to experience that full out. And then you may have to, if you don't get it right on that plane, then you may have to reincarnate and get it right on this physical plane. You may learn your lesson on that plane and then be able to ascend. It depends specifically on the individual. Because if you can't overcome the vibration in the physical, and then you can't overcome it in your most purest self, which is a light being, then you come back to the physical to learn how to overcome these similar situations until you can pass on. This is basically like a school. Earth is like a school. Earth would be like, it would be right now what you consider a hostile planet. It's the most negatively vibrating planet. It got the most violent, unconscious people on it. So if you can learn to mentally ascend on this planet and reach a certain vibration of love on this planet, then that's like, if we were playing a game, you would be like, that's like a level up. So now when you pass away, you don't need to come back into a chaotic situation because your soul has already experienced it and upgraded from being in that environment. So we understand that each planet is a realm, and each realms have different environments, and the soul manifests itself within these realms to learn how to live within the confines of these situations in order to experience and upgrade itself. It's literally just like a game. So now with that being said, is you are an individual piece of the Creator, manifesting itself within these realms to experience itself within the confines of the physical world. And basically in this experience, the name of the game is to learn how to return back to your higher self. That is the point of life. I just gave you the jewel. Now with that being said, after death, that's one aspect that could happen. But for two, depending on how spiritually cultivated you become, you can become let's just use the term spirit guide. You can ascend to a realm to where you no longer wish to reincarnate physically because you transcend the physical realm so much that it no longer interests you. Things like sex, materialistic things no longer hold your attention. You are so enlightened that you don't even need a physical experience anymore. So what you would do is you would ascend to another realm to where you just guide people who are where you used to be. This is where you get the term our ancestors are still here with us, because we have ancestors who became so enlightened that they no longer chose to reincarnate physically, but yet they still guide us here while we lost on this physical plane. And the job of the Caucasian is to keep us lost on this physical plane. So now after death, there is a multitude of things that can happen, but just keeping it basic, depending on the average person, so that the average person can relate to this. The job here while on the physical realm is to learn how to make your energy, like I made that video energy field. If you didn't ever see it, go watch on YouTube. Go type Pharaoh energy field. You want to learn how to make your mind and your soul so strong that you can actually not be affected by these vibrations, so that upon death you don't attract the same thing you've been suffering from and have to deal with it then. And then if you don't pass that test, you reincarnate. The point of reincarnation, for not like some people take, some beings take incarnation in order to help people, such as myself. But other beings, let's just say, reincarnate in order to relearn the lesson. It's like school. If you don't pass the test, you got to keep taking it over. So what we got to understand is, before we even get fully more into talking about life after death, we got to understand life before birth. Your soul, believe it or not, chose the exact family that you were born to. You chose your mother. You chose your father. You chose to come into your mother at that point in birth. You chose that. So when we look at our situations at home and we realize, why the fuck is this shit so hellish and I hate my life and why am I in this situation? That's because you lacked understanding that you actually manifested in this situation to see if you would be able to survive in such an environment spiritually and mentally. Why? Because in a past life, or maybe just this might be your first time around. Either way it go, you chose this situation and your soul needs this situation in order to upgrade. So this is your specific test to learn how to imbibe, learn how to survive within this such specific negative polarity that you're in for you. So now everybody has a different form of household. Maybe some people don't need and I'm not giving negativity excuse before I go on. Let me not say, oh, your man beat your ass or your parents molest you or whatever because you need to feel that experience. Hell no. That's not what I'm saying. That's straight devil and wicked. What I'm saying is, a lot of us are born into, let me specifically specify what I'm saying when I mean that. Certain situations such as poverty. You might be born into a poor family because you need to learn the experience of being humble.